Warning! This video contains spoilers to Star Wars Episode 7, 8, like 4, 5, and 6, and a series of books, mostly Bloodline, and a few of the other ones. So if you don't want things spoiled for you, go away. But if you want your mind blown...
That's what she said!
Stay tuned. Hello friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I would like to talk about a theory that I've kind of been kicking around about who Rey is. Now, I have really come to believe that Rey is not who Kylo Ren says she is, or who Kylo Ren leads her to believe.
They're filthy junk traders who sold you off for drinking money.
My theory on who Rey is that Rey is the illegitimate daughter of Leia Solo, but not the daughter of Han Solo. Now in this video, I'd like to break that theory down, kind of talk about what it means and how I have come to this. I'm going to be using stuff from the movies, both 7 and 8, and I am going to be pulling from the actual novelization of the movie Episode 8. I didn't read Episode 7 just simply because it was too closely connected to Episode 7, the movie. And Episode 8 differs enough that I still felt that it was valuable to listen or read the book. And I'm going to be pulling a lot of information from that and just from a lot of different sources. Now, that being said, this may be a theory that you've heard before, but hopefully I will present it in a way that is new and different to you. Now, I do want to start off with just kind of the number of different theories that have been out there about who Rey is, who she could have been, and why I think that this is the one that is actually the case. Now, the first one is, there have been a lot of theories, obviously, about who Rey is. The fact that she's a Skywalker, the Star Wars movies are based around the Skywalker family. And even though Rey might not technically be a Skywalker, Kylo Ren is. And so therefore there's the argument like, well, it's still about the Skywalker family. They have said many times in the producers, the directors have said that the sequel series or this sequel trilogy is about the Skywalker family. Now, a lot of people are taking that to be, well, yeah, it's about Ben Solo. It's still about Leia. It's still about Luke. Yeah, it makes sense. But I do think that since the protagonist of this film is Rey, I am starting to believe that she is a Skywalker as well. So I'd like to start off with talking about how similar the movies are to the old canon. Now, we know that they are not following the old canon step by step, and they've come out and said, we don't want to remake. That's why they've called old canon Legends now, and they're throwing in all this new canon. But if you look at what they're doing, they're really cherry picking a lot of some of the best storylines from the old canon. A lot of the Thrawn story was very similar. It wasn't identical by any means. The Rogue One was a similar story, different enough, obviously, to Kyle Katarn, but they're closely enough related that it seems like they're not just saying, hey, we're doing an homage to these ideas. They're flat out stealing a lot of them. And I think that is going to play a factor in who Rey's parents are. Now, in the Legends canon that's no longer canon, Han Solo and Leia had 3 children. They had Jaina, Jason, and I want to say Ben, but that's probably wrong. I think Ben was a Skywalker, not a Solo. Anakin Skywalker, or Anakin Solo. Anakin dies, Jason goes crazy, and Jaina ends up killing him. It's a phenomenal series. Obviously, it's no longer canon. However, for a really long time in Episode 7, a lot of people were drawing some really similar parallels to this story, right? You have Jason played by the part of Kylo Ren now, and potentially a Jaina story with Jaina being Rey. Now, it was really, really interesting because they are cherry picking. It does still seem, even though that's not the case, even though they're saying that that's not the case, they're not, directly picking from different parts of different stories. That's exactly what they're doing, right? They say they're not, but they are. And hopefully, depending on how they move forward with episode 9, it could very well be that that's exactly what they're doing, but they're just trying to mislead us, right? They don't want to tell us that Rey and Kylo Ren are siblings, just like they were in the old canon. That makes sense. Now, they're not just going to throw away tons of great storylines, because there were a lot of really good storylines in the Legends canon. Now, moving on to episode 7, there's a lot of things that I think we overlook, and definitely a lot of homage that's given to episode 4. We see pretty much a very similar storyline. We see a lot of the same characters show up, a lot of the same archetypes show up, a lot of the same self-sacrificing, that type of stuff. Why do that? Why do that except to say, hey, we're paying homage. We're doing something that's going to be, yeah, a tip of the hat, but a very large tip of the hat to the original movies. Now, here's some of the things that I think that because we've seen episode 8, we completely overlook. One, when Rey is super familiar with droid speak. Rey can completely understand Chewbacca. Rey is familiar with the rebellion. There's a few things just within that make me think, hey, this is coincidental at best, and at worst, this is intentionally misleading, right? Because in episode 7, all of those things were pointing to she's a Skywalker. Another thing we find out, we have that scene when Rey goes onto the Millennium Falcon, she's intimately familiar with it. Now that can be explained away the fact that it has been sitting there on Jakku for a long time. But it could be explained a few different ways, and one particularly could explain this as she has been on the Millennium Falcon as a child, not just a child of Jakku, but as a child from the Solo family. Now, next, we have the Kylo Ren knows exactly who Rey is.
Anything else?
The two were accompanied by a girl.
What girl?
Not by name necessarily, but he knows there's a girl on Jakku that is special somehow. How does he know that? And why does he care so much that a girl helped Finn escape? Why? Except to explain that Kylo Ren somehow knew there was a girl there who was special, right? Who was somehow connected to something. Not sure what, not sure who, not sure when, but she's connected to something. The next major scene that we see is the meeting of Han and Rey for the first time. He sees something in her.
Where are the others? Where's the pilot?
I'm the pilot.
You?
No, it's true. We're the only ones on board.
You can understand that thing?
And that thing can understand you too, so watch it.
Maybe Chewie does. We don't understand SWGOH, but, or maybe you guys do and you heard something. I didn't. But he sees something in her. Maybe it's the spunk that's in Leia. Maybe that fire that's in her as well. I don't know. Maybe it's a similitude. Maybe she looks like Leia enough to him. I don't necessarily know. But he seems to stop and just all of a sudden accept that, yeah, I'll take you where you need to go. Next, we have the scene at Maz Kanata's, right? That moment when Rey goes and finds the lightsaber, super cool, right? That also can be explained by a number of different things. Rey could have that ability to sense an object history through touching it. I don't remember the name of the ability. I know that the dude with the face, he had it. He was the one with the book and, and other things. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, that guy, wherever I put him. That guy. Quinlan Vos, that's his name. That could be a really easy answer for this, but I don't think Disney and I don't think J.J. Abrams or, God forbid, Kathleen Kennedy is going to make anything about Star Wars easy for any of us from now on. That being said, we have the cutscene. I mean, throwing out the whole lightsaber incident where a lightsaber calls to Rey, where Obi-Wan says, Rey, this is your first step. Throwing that out entirely, we have the cutscene where Maz says, who's the girl? Why cut? Why cut there and not have Han say, some girl I picked up on Jakku? Unless Han knows exactly who Rey is, and I do believe he does. Now, battle. Poe comes in and blows stuff up. Enter the moment when Leia and Han meet for the first time in a long time. Now, we know something took place. But what's interesting is it's hinted at in the movie. It is flat out talked about in the book Bloodlines. We know that something took place between Han and Leia that separates them. That was before Luke trained Ben Solo. What took place? This is what we don't know. What is going to stop these two from loving each other? Now, they definitely have a love-hate relationship, right? She infuriates him. He loves to piss her off. It's kind of like my relationship with my wife. It's great, but what could get between this? Now, and this is where I make my speculation. In the books, in the canon that we know so far, we know that Kylo Ren was conceived on Endor, right? Han and Leia got a little busy, got a little freaky. Han was really excited that, you know, Leia was no longer into her cousin or her brother, and boom.
Oh, and boom goes the dynamite.
You know, and for whatever reason, they conceived. The Force conceived Ben, right? Han is a scoundrel, but he's a lovable one. He's a scoundrel with a heart of gold, so he stays on. He likes the excitement that he has with Leia. He does. It's not just a physical attraction. There is a chemistry there. Han was still a smuggler. And when he tried to live a straight life, he had a really hard time with it. In the book Bloodline, it outlines how Han struggled. In the book Life Debt, it outlines how Han struggled to be a stay-at-home dad with Leia running out and, you know, running the Senate and ruling the Senate or whatever she ended up doing. That was hard for him. And so what did he do? He went on races. He went on events. He did all of these different things that kept him away from the house. What do we know about Ben during this time? We know that Ben idolized Han Solo. Ben wanted to be Han Solo. He said things like, I am going to be the best pilot in the galaxy, just like my dad. Right? Again, that's in canon. And those of you who've read the books like I have, you know what I'm talking about. What would cause someone like that to lose face? What would cause the love of a child to just be completely ripped out? The answer? Infidelity. Now, would Leia be unfaithful to Han? No. No, she wouldn't. She has more upbringing, more background, more righteous indignation. That's not the right term, but you guys know she wouldn't do that. Would Han do that to her? No. Most likely not. Would he get himself into sketchy situations? Abso-freaking-lutely he would. But would he cheat on Leia? I don't think that he would. So why do I think that Rey is the illegitimate daughter of Leia Solo, but not Han Solo? This is where I think they're pulling from other canon. We do know that Snoke has been pulling strings, right? We do know that this whole time Snoke's in the background doing something. We know that he has seen Ben Solo. We know that from the womb, Ben Solo has been worked on by Snoke. We know that. But what else do we know? We know that Disney likes to take stories from other areas. That Disney likes to take ideas from other canon and non-canon. They like to reuse stuff because it's cheap and easy, right? It makes sense. How did Anakin Skywalker come into existence? Anakin Skywalker came into existence because there was an imbalance in the Force of negativity. There was something so Palpatine and Plagueis, and this isn't canon anymore, but Palpatine and Plagueis were so evil, and they created something that was so evil, and I can't remember what it was, but they did something so bad with the Force that a beacon of light came into existence. That beacon of light was the unborn child impregnated into Shmi Skywalker, right? I don't know how to say her name. And this is very much a Jesus story, right? That's what happened in the books. We know that Snoke is at least an archetype of Plagueis. He is very much the Plagueis character, just without the name. So could Plagueis have been doing something in the background that was so dark, so evil, that it brought something good and beautiful into the world in the form of Rey? And who would it go to? Someone who's strong with the Force, who has a lineage of the Force, and a womb. Leia Skywalker. Now, what would that do to Han? Han's a scoundrel. Han puts himself in sketchy situations, and he's gone a lot. You come back, and all of a sudden, your wife's pregnant. That would be tough, right? That would be a really hard thing for Han, or really anyone, to deal with. But Han, being the guy that he is, stays on. Han continues to raise Ben, continues to raise this other child until something happens. Now, this is the thing where I don't necessarily know or have a theory on as to what happened. It is my belief that Kylo Ren in Episode 8 is a red herring. Kylo Ren does not actually tell Rey that she's no one until she herself comes out and says it. I'm no one.
Do you want to know the truth about your parents? Or have you always known? You just hidden it away. You know the truth. Say it. Say it.
They were nobody.
Then he builds on that, right? Kylo Ren says, you know who your family is.
They're filthy junk traders who sold you off for drinking money. The dead in a pauper's grave in the Jakku desert.
Why is he doing that? Here's my big thought, right? Kylo Ren's the bad guy. Why are we trusting the bad guy? Why do we trust him to be honest? We know he wants Rey to join him and to be evil with him. We know that fear is a path to the dark side. Kylo Ren is playing on her fear. He's playing on her insecurity by saying, you're no one. Your family has traded you for their junk traders. You're nobody. Why does he know that that's her fear? Because multiple times he has been inside her mind and she has been inside his. From the events of Episode 7 to the battle between the Praetorian guards, there in the book, it really talks about that. You know, it is a really cool moment in the book. He knows her fear, just like Rey knew that his fear was he would never live up to be Darth Vader.
You're afraid that you will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
I mean, here we're seeing these patterns, right? We're seeing the connection moving back and forth here, right? It's not just me, and hopefully you guys are like, oh yeah, I get that. Next, right, we look at the actual vision of when Rey, so jumping back to Episode 7, look at that vision. What did we see? We saw Rey screaming, Mama, or she's like screaming, no, come back. In the book, we hear a woman say, I'm coming back for you, baby, or something to that extent. I can't really remember what it was. That was cut in the movie. Also in that scene, that same scene, Rey saw a young boy. Now, what does that mean? The implication is she saw Kylo Ren as a young boy. Now, unless Rey knew Kylo Ren as a young boy, then it doesn't make sense. There are a few possible outcomes here. There are a few possible theories. Leia, for one reason or another, left Rey on Jakku because she saw that the danger, the inherent evil that was in him, and wanted to protect Rey. Or she was in danger for something, and through back channels, through connections, left Rey with Unkar Plutt. Now here's the thing. I'm thinking Unkar Plutt is kind of like the Snape in this whole thing, where yeah, he's a giant douchebag in that first part of the movie, but he turns out to be like the hero. I think that's what we're seeing. I think Unkar Plutt is the Snape of the Star Wars universe, right? Leia, having made connections with unsavory people, leaves her daughter with someone who is dishonorable, disreputable, but someone that she can trust to protect her. How else did Rey live that long? He had to be feeding her. He had to be protecting her, right? It wasn't just, there was no commune that we knew she grew up on, no orphanage that we know of. So someone had to take care of her. And it makes sense that it was Unkar Plutt. There's even a moment in the book in episode 7, I did read some of it, that talks about how Unkar Plutt looks at her, and it's almost like a loving look. Rey takes it as kind of like a sexual, creepy look. But maybe it's like, hey, I've raised you, and you've become this young woman, and I'm just so proud of you, right? Again, maybe Unkar Plutt's not the douchebag that we assume that he is. Now, he probably is. I don't know. But I think he's the Snape of this whole thing. Moving on, right? It could have been someone else who dropped off Rey, who maybe snatched Rey from the night and, you know, scouted her away to safety, or esconded her away to, just took her to safety, you know, flighted her away to safety. Very possible, right? Someone, maybe even Luke was familiar with. Maybe this was after the events of Luke's Jedi Academy. Maybe someone, a female survivor, saw that Rey was powerful with the Force. Maybe this is another vision that Luke just didn't share with us. I don't know. It is very possible that someone close to the Solo family, you know, wanted to protect Rey. Now, I'll finish this all off. There's a lot more to this theory than I think that I could really go into, that I could really explore in this video, but I think it's been long enough. But the last thing that I'd like to bring up is the last chapter in episode 8, the book. The last chapter talks about those frog creatures on the caretakers on Ahch-To. And it's told from the perspective, the point of view of the grand matriarch of the Ahch-Toians, or whatever they're called, right? And it says that multiple times throughout the centuries, Ahch-To has been a place for refuge of people seeking enlightenment through the Force, right? Both light side and dark side users. Some have been really nice, like Luke. Some have been really dark and mean, like whoever, right? On the island, Luke essentially becomes one of the natives, right? He plans to die there. When he's on the island, Luke refers to Rey as his niece. Now, here's the thing. There's a number of other things he could have called her. There's a number of other things that he could have said about Rey. She's my Padawan. She's a friend. They're not living in the same area. If these caretakers afforded Luke the courtesy of staying on the island and protecting him and taking care of him, they would have done it for Rey. So why lie about it? Why lie and say that Rey is his niece? And the answer is, I don't think that he did. I think Luke finally looks at Rey and sees her and says, I know who you are.
Who are you?
The Resistance sent me.
They sent you. What's special about you? Where are you from?
Nowhere.
Why are you here, Rey, from nowhere?
The Resistance sent me. We need your help. The First Order's become unstoppable.
Why are you here?
Luke knows where Jakku is. Luke is familiar with that planet. Luke's familiar with these areas. Luke is familiar with Rey. How does he know her? He recognizes her. Now, it's eventually he recognizes her through the Force. Maybe there's a moment, there's something else that Yoda told Luke. Maybe Yoda tells him. Maybe Ben shows up and is like, hey, guess what? Or Qui-Gon even. It's like, boom, I'm here too. We don't know. But I do think that there is a moment that Luke realizes that Rey is his niece. Now, all of this being said, we look at this final scene on the base of the rebellion, or the base of the Resistance. Han's dead. Chewbacca is taking Finn walks right past Leia. Why would Chewbacca walk right past Leia to a girl that she has just met. Now, granted, she's learned about, granted, she's been talked about a lot, and give her a hug, because this is the first time the mother has seen the daughter in years. Now, that's my theory. I'm a little long-winded, guys. I'm going to try to cut a lot of this down, so there's a lot that you're going to have missed. But with that, what do you think? Did I miss anything? Was there something that I left out that strengthens this theory? Was there something that I left out that weakens it, that I just totally neglected, that you're like, nope, you're wrong, Thaddeus. You're just dead wrong. Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share this video. I really want to see if someone out there can prove me wrong. And really challenge me on this, because I do believe that this is the case. Now, granted, we have the moment in, you know, where Luke throws the lightsaber, essentially saying, hey, episode 7, gone. All those theories out the door. Misdirection. Watch this hand while this hand's doing something else. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe. Please share this video. I want as much feedback as I possibly can. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.